Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back. My name is Anya and today I'm going to be sharing with you my professional journey. Ever since I was a little girl, I always wanted to do something to do with hair and makeup, and so I thought originally I wanted to go into the business of beauty, so like a beauty salon or something like that. As I got older though, my father very quickly instilled in me the fact that I had to pick a career that was actually going to pay the bills. Once I actually paid the bills, I could go ahead and follow my passion, as he would say. You can study whatever you want to study as long as it's a profession that you can get a good job in and you could actually get paid doing it, and then you can study liberal arts or music or poetry, whatever you want. I then decided, well, how can I really do both together, right? And I thought, well, what about if I become a business owner of my own salon, of my own hair salon, of my own beauty parlor? So I started to go into the business field. So right after I graduated high school, I decided I'm going to go into business administration. But after I graduated high school, I thought I was on top of the world. I didn't really want to spend a whole lot of time studying. And so I said, I'm just gonna go and get my associate's degree in business administration and start working, because I'm an adult and I could do things the way I want to do them now, and that's just what I'm gonna do. I went ahead and enrolled in school and got my associate's degree, and I was very shocked by the reality that when I graduated with my associate's degree, not only did I have a massive amount of debt that I had to pay back, but the job that I was able to get with that associate's degree wasn't really enough to help me pay back those student loans. So I was back at square zero. I started working, I remember, at Nielsen TV Ratings, and I was a scheduler, so I would schedule people to go out to people's homes and install machinery in their TVs when we used to have like those big boxes TVs, and they would put in the equipment that would read the ratings so that they can report on those ratings. And so it was a pretty interesting job, and I stayed there for a few years. But actually, let me backtrack a little bit. Before that, when I was in school, I was working at a medical facility. So it was a practice with a bunch of doctors, and I did absolutely everything in there. I was the receptionist. I actually brought people in, asked them what they were here for, if they were sick, if they were well, and all of that other fun stuff. I went also to the area of billing. I dealt with insurance companies, and I really thought after I graduated with my associate's degree that that practice was going to give me a better position with better pay. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. I asked for a raise as soon as I graduated, and I remember clearly the manager said to me, "You're way too ambitious," and gave me a 25-cent salary increase. And the very next day I walked in with my letter of resignation, and I said, "Thanks, but no thanks." And so I took the job at Nielsen TV Ratings and was there for about a couple of years, and then decided, okay, I need something different. And I went into a position that I was actually in New York City for. Now, it had always been my dream to work in New York City. And I thought, whoa, I've made it. Even though I was actually a receptionist at the time for a staffing company called Adecco. So I actually went to work right outside of Ground Zero. It was in the early 2000s, but I wasn't, in Ground Zero or in the World Trade Center area when the Twin Towers went down, but it was soon thereafter. So I would actually take the train in every morning, and I would see the gigantic hole in the middle of everything where the train would go into the station was actually right underneath one of the towers. So I would get off every morning on, in that station, and I would see all of the construction going on and everything, you know, all the progress that was being made. I've actually not been back there for a really long time, so I haven't seen everything that has been finished already. But back then, it was pretty surreal to still see all of that on a day-to-day basis. So after that, I actually became a receptionist still, but at an interior design firm. And it was an interior design, but it also was a architectural firm, and they worked kind of hand in hand. You had a team of architects that did expansions and remodels and all of that stuff, but then you also had the interior design people that like looked at different fabrics for different throw pillows and all of that stuff. So I was a receptionist there, and I really enjoyed my time there because the people were great. Everybody was really sweet, and it was a really nice experience overall. After that, I decided, you know what, I really need to get something where I feel like I can grow into, and I found this other position thanks to one of my coworkers at another architectural firm, and they were not interior design, they were strictly architects. They needed an office manager, and I said, sure, that's a step up from a receptionist. So I knew already kind of the office management style that that type of firm needed. So I took that over to the architectural firm. I was actually there for not too long, over a year, and then I got a position starting at none other than Lehman Brothers. And this was actually my first step into the financial world. When I went into Lehman Brothers in 2006, at the end of 2006, I thought, wow, I've made it. It was a headquarters in New York City in Times Square, and it was really a dream come true. It was amazing. The building was just majestic, according to me at least. I mean, you know, imagine coming from Cuba, not really knowing the language at all, learning Spanish, I mean, learning English here, going to school and landing in a building like that in like in the middle of New York City, where everything is massive and the structures are majestic, and I just seemed like I had arrived at that point. I was a banking assistant, so I was working, I remember, in the 24th floor, and it was like, wow, I would take the elevator upstairs to the 24th floor, and I was like, goodness gracious. I would wear suits to work every day, and it was just so nice to feel like a professional. And so I decided at that point I should probably go back to school and get my bachelor's degree. And I went back to school, and at the time they offered tuition reimbursement. So Lehman Brothers actually paid for the rest of my education. I started with the associates, and then I just got the rest of the credits needed to complete my education and get my bachelor's degree in business administration. But this time around, I focused in a little bit more on marketing itself, which I you know, was a big passion of mine at the time, and I thought that was the area that I wanted to go into eventually. Lehman Brothers helped me out a lot in that sense, because I was able to work in the morning and actually during the day, and then incorporate my study time in the evenings. And at the time I was still living at home, so I just literally had to pay for, you know, my rent, but I didn't have to cook, I didn't have to clean, I didn't have to do anything other than take care of myself, pay my own bills, which was really a big blessing when I was continuing and ending my studies. When I was at Lehman Brothers in 2008 was a financial crisis. The financial crisis left a lot of people out of work, but fortunately I was still there, and they didn't get rid of me. I stayed with my job at Lehman Brothers, and then eventually it became Barclays until 2011, when I finally decided to make the switch over to none other than Morgan Stanley, which was located actually is still located 2 blocks away from the Lehman Brothers building, Barclays right now. And it was a transition into a better position, but it was doing similar things that I was doing at Lehman Brothers. So if you remember, I said at Lehman Brothers I started as a banking assistant, but then quickly, probably about 6-10 months Under a year after I started, I got promoted to operations specialist. And as an operations specialist, I was able to work with different investment banking groups, and it was really a great experience because I got to know the insides of the actual business, including the budgeting and the tactics, the sales tactics of all of the different components of the business in investment banking overall, which was really interesting to me. I finished my bachelor's at that point, and I decided I wanted to put in for a promotion. I unfortunately didn't get that promotion because at the time, everything to do with Barclays / Lehman Brothers transitioning was really up in the air. And so a lot of people were actually being cut off because there were a lot of duplicate positions. And the people that were there were kind of just holding tight. So they said, we have a freeze right now and all this and all that. And I said, well, I'm not frozen. So I need a promotion, and I applied for a position that became available at Morgan Stanley. I then got the position at Morgan Stanley as an operations associate. So it was quite the promotion. I remember thinking, now I've made it. I've got my own office. I am an associate now. I am like in great shape. Well, that lasted for about a year and some, maybe a year and 3 months. And the position quickly, not quickly, but in the year and 3 months, became obsolete. They actually did get rid of my spot, and they explained that it was a cut across all the organization. It was an organizational structure restructuring that took place. So there was a cut across the organization of about 12% or something like that, which is massive. At the time, it worked out because I was already studying. Actually, I was already enrolled to get my MBA. So I had already decided to get my master's in business administration. And this time I wanted to focus in finance because I had found a passion for finance at that point. And so I had already enrolled in school, and I said, you know what? I am going to go straight into this like I never have before. Because if you remember, in my previous studies, I had been working full-time and going to school. And so I thought, I am going to embrace this full force and go do my master's degree and not worry about work, just live on savings for the next 2 years, however long it took me to, or it was 2 years that it took me to finish my master's, and then start looking for work again. Now, I must say in parentheses here, the Saturday before I got laid off, which was on a Monday, my now husband proposed. So imagine how excited I was to go into work on Monday morning. I told all my friends, and then that same afternoon I got called into a conference room where I was told I was being laid off. So imagine the roller coaster of emotions. And so I'll definitely make a separate video about that specific story, but in terms of this one, professionally speaking, I did decide I'm not going to go ahead and look for a job. I'm just gonna go straight into school and give it my all. And that's what I did. I graduated with my Master's of Business Administration with a concentration in finance. I graduated with honors. It was really a great experience. I was able to join a group within my class that focused on stock picking and analyzing trends and managing a portfolio. I learned a lot, and I was able to attend different conferences, and it was really a great experience. And I was even interviewed and came out on TV as a result of all of those different things. So it was a really great experience, and I'm definitely glad I did it that way. Once I graduated, I was already married, because remember now 2 years have passed by, and I came down to South Jersey, where my husband got his job after he graduated with his graduate studies. So down in South Jersey, I was very convinced that I would not be able to find a finance job. And then I said, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and study for my real estate license, and when I become a real estate agent, I will make lots of money and look at great houses and, you know, show people around, which is also something I would really, really love to do. So I did that. I studied, I got my real estate license, and I think about 1 or 2 Sundays after that, I was having a conversation with somebody at church, and they overheard me say that I didn't have a job yet because my field is finance, and I didn't think anything was available down in South Jersey where I currently live. Well, that person said to me, well, I know somebody whose husband works in Merrill Lynch. Do you want me to introduce you? And I said, yeah, definitely. You know, there's nothing to lose. So I went and I met with this person. He told me all about Merrill Lynch, and it was music to my ears. I also, at the time, for some reason or another, got a different offer at Morgan Stanley again. It was a different Morgan Stanley though. It was not in the investment banking division. It was in the wealth management side of things. So same type of deal with both Merrill Lynch and Morgan Stanley at the time, except that with Morgan Stanley, I would be doing a lot more analytical work versus at Merrill Lynch, where I was going to be doing a lot more local business development, unbeknownst to me, things, which is definitely not my strong suit. So I decided to actually go with Merrill Lynch. I spent at Merrill Lynch close to 2 years, and after the time that I was there, I decided, you know what, my passion really lies in ministry. And ministry overall for me doesn't necessarily mean let me just become a pastor or a missionary or you know, something to do with leadership within the church. But if I know finance, if I know numbers, if my experience, my background, my education, my passion lies within the field of finance, how can I really utilize that to embark in the journey of advancing the ministry, you know? So I started to look elsewhere, and I ended up in a company that does offer financial advice and guidance to people within the ministry. And that's where I'm currently right now. I am so happy to be able to marry both my experience, my passion of finance with my passion for ministry, and be able to bring those two things together to really offer God's people the best of me and advance their ministry overall. And I think that's absolutely amazing. So right now, where I currently am in terms of my profession, I love the job that I have right now. I am very, very good at actually performing it, but I am also studying to get my educational doctorate in organizational leadership. I want to make sure that I'm well equipped for the next step in my career, and I think that would ultimately be some type of management role. My thesis actually incorporates the role of women within different corporate America organizations, and how we can really open up the doors for them to have a seat at the table, taking into consideration the different, let's call it, limitations that come along with being a woman in the field. Because the gender gap definitely does exist within not only pay, but actual spots around that conference room table. And so I want to make a little bit nudge in the right direction, and hopefully make way for others to open up the rest of the way for everybody else. Thank you so much for watching my video today. This is my whole entire professional journey. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.